Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Saturday, December 10th, if you are seeing this live. I'm Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey, where I like to talk about how I lost 97.4 pounds since starting the ketogenic protocol, how you may be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your life like I did. Today's topic is just like the title implies. It doesn't even imply it, it states it. Keto basics, the basics. I'm going to explain to you how I learned and have practiced the ketogenic protocol for now going on 9 years. It'll be 9 years in January. I also want to give the caveat that there are many ways to have success and find health and happiness and feel good about yourself. This is how it happened for me. I will say that I believe I am an every person. Most people are like I am, either now or eventually will be metabolically. So that said, let me review how the protocol is. Here's how I learned it from the white coat video of my friend, Dr. Eric Westman. He wasn't my friend then. He was just Dr. Eric Westman of Duke University. Keep your carbohydrate intake to 20 grams or fewer a day. Total carbs, not net. If it's not on page 4, link below, don't eat it. As an aside, you don't even need a food list. More on that later. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop eating when you're satiated. Not stop eating when you're about to pop. That's it. Those are the basics. And they really don't need much elaboration, no matter what so-called influencers and gurus and sales pitchmen say. Keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day, total not net. Actually, if you do that, the rest kind of flows if you listen to your body and don't eat if you're not hungry. Those are the basics. And beyond the basics, that's nearly the total thing. You'll note that there's no comment, no recommendation or note of grams of protein or grams of fat or glasses of water or percentages of anything, the so-called M word, macros, or time of day eating, or intermittent anything. If you don't eat if you're not hungry, then everything kind of takes care of itself. And if you keep your carbs low, you'll be less hungry. The beauty is in the simplicity. Now, having said that, this is a simple process. I mean, it's a simple protocol. The process that does all this in our bodies is quite complex. But for us to have domain over it, it's quite simple. Keep your carbs 20 grams or fewer a day, total not net. That doesn't mean it's easy. And this is why I started Go Keto with Casey. Not because I thought, oh gosh, keto seems like a good buzzword. Let me jump in on that action, because it wasn't keto then. I was just a person who had been morbidly obese, overweight, obese, and morbidly obese for 30 years. And I'd given up on losing weight, and I'd kind of given up on myself. And when I made this change, because I didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes, I realized that certainly there were other people, whether they were at my stage of life or at the stage of life where I grew to be overweight. I was overweight from my mid-20s to my mid-50s, and I don't mean just kinda. You can go to my blog, link below, CaseyDurango.com, and see some photographs. Not many, because I destroyed them. There are some photographs of me when I was heavier, not at my heaviest. Those photographs certainly don't exist. Under threat of death, if anyone took one. So if I can do this, you can do this. And that is why there's Go Keto with Casey. I left my previous quite lucrative career, but I feel good about this. If I can do this, you can do this. And please understand that the basics are true. It's not a trick. If you reduce your carbohydrate intake to a level where your liver, after everything's processed, the liver is really the kind of the queen of the organs, to tell you the truth. Well, they're all important. Maybe not the appendix. The appendix is not particularly important. The liver stops pumping out glucose for fuel. And when that happens, almost immediately, like within, it's very quick, our body says, oh, no more glucose, no worries. Let's start burning fat for fuel. Ketones. Glucose equals sugar. Ketones equals fat. So if you get glucose from the liver from carbs, and it doesn't matter whether it's Ezekiel bread, a whole bran muffin, a Snickers bar, or a handful of M&Ms, or brown rice, or white rice, or black rice, or quinoa, or a sweet potato, or a white potato. It comes out as simple sugar from our liver, meaning it comes out as sugar, glucose. So our body burns it. And there's this whole physiological thing. I highly recommend the book, The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living by Doctors Stephen Finney and Jeff Volek. If you go to my blog and see my references and my favorite things and all that stuff, you'll see links to things that I recommend, whether it's, an air fryer or a book. So if you are interested, you can go there. So we start burning fat for fuel. We've got plenty of fat on board. All of us do, unless we are, have body wasting disease. My trim, fit, athletic husband, who has perfect body fat percentage and is at his ideal weight, has tens of thousands of calories of energy on board because he has some body fat. I've got even more because I have more body fat. So those are the basics. You don't have to worry about intake of protein. People will sell you things, okay? They're going to sell you apps. They're going to sell you kits. They're going to sell you supplements. They're going to tell you things that are not accurate so they can sell you things. And it's just the way it is. I understand. If nobody sells, nobody works. I understand that. But if somebody wants to sell an overpriced handbag or a useless widget, that's okay. I mean, okay, buyer beware. But when it comes to health and self-image and things that make us feel awful about ourselves and depressed and put our health at risk, no, I'm not down with that. I'm not down with go ahead, sell stuff. That having been said, excuse me, I need to enlarge this because I can't see very well. You don't have to buy one thing, not one food product, certainly. Not any, there's no keto product. Nothing. There's exogenous ketones, bull. There's another person out there whose environment sounds like go keto with Casey. That is not me. I will not ever sell exogenous ketones or the like. They are actually counterproductive for nutritional ketosis. There may or may not be a role for therapeutic ketosis when we're talking about neurological disorders or other things. But nutritional ketosis, burning fat for fuel, getting your metabolism where it's supposed to be, having good metabolic health, reducing your blood sugar, your blood pressure, sleep apnea, acid reflux, nutritional ketosis, you want to burn body fat. You don't want to drink body fat or drink fat. The basics. Keep your carbs, 20 grams or fewer a day, total not net. If it's not on page 4, link below, don't eat it. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satiated. And then I've added be patient and persevere. Now, back to the food list. Nobody needs a food list. The food list of page 4, and it's just fatty sources of protein, some non-starchy vegetables in limited amounts. By the way, that's not a minimum amount of leafy greens one must eat. That's actually counterproductive. Maximum amounts of non-starchy vegetables. If you want them, you don't have to eat vegetables. And limited amounts of full-fat dairy, if you can tolerate it. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satiated. Those are the basics. Now, I thought about, I'll wait until January to do a talk on this. Everyone starts their new things. I said, no, people don't need to wait till January 1st to lay off the carbs. How do I start? I get the question, how do I start this? Next time you eat, don't put carbs in your mouth. Next time you eat something, lay off the carbs. That's it. And then the time after that, next time you eat, lay off the carbs. And then the time after that, lay off the carbs. Carbs are not an essential macronutrient. Basics. Keep your carbs low. Fatty sources of protein. Limited amounts of non-starchy vegetables if you want them. Limited amounts of full-fat dairy. Nope, no fruit. Nope, no nuts. Nope, no alternative nut flours. No fake baked goods. Do what works for you. Do what you like. But don't blame keto for what the keto brownies did. I had someone give me a ration of grief about the fact that I've had it from a few people. I started posting links to the daily snippets I do on Patreon. I'm word about that in a second. On my Facebook page. It's not a group. Go Keto with Casey Facebook page. And so I just started posting a link to it. You click on it. I make 5 videos a week, every weekday morning on topics mostly suggested by patrons. And it takes you to Patreon if you want to see this clip paper. Wow, I wish you would start doing free content for people who aren't paying you. I've gotten this message over the last 6 weeks, maybe 7, 8 times. Or, I can't believe you're charging for page 4. Okay, I'm not charging for page 4. Dr. Westman copyrighted it because there were so many bootleg versions of page 4 out there. He said, I'm going to copyright it. And he says, I gave it away for free for 20 years. People ruined it. There it is. It's amazing to me. I am here right now, public. Now, I'm not patting myself on the back. People be crazy is what I'm saying. They'll pay $149 for a kit to treat some non-existent medical disease with supplements called like cruciferous food pills. How cynical is that? But they just want they want an easy answer. Some people, not everyone. I'm venting a little bit. I apologize. I'm going to back off of this. I generally try to be positive. It just makes me scratch my head, is all. Don't blame keto for what the keto products did. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So I looked up this one person who gave me the grief. Went to see what their page is all about. And it's just link after link after link of things like, ooh, keto ginger snap cookies. Keto devil's food cake with whipped cream. Well, apparently they're getting some free information that's not serving them very well. The basics. Keep your carbs low. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop eating when you're satiated. Listen to your body. Okay, I apologize. Bent over. If this was a pre-recorded video, I'd go back and edit all this out, the last 4 minutes. Anywho, that having been said, I'm going to turn my attention to the attendees. And I really appreciate everyone. There is having said you don't have to buy anything, shameless commerce division coming up. I will never sell a product to make you get into ketosis faster because there isn't one. It's not what you put in your mouth, it's what you don't put in your mouth. But I would love to sell you a calendar. These are, most of these are already out the door. 2023 Go Keto with Casey calendar. I enjoyed designing them. And I do it, it's like the 5th year I've done it. So you can see that at my blog. Go Keto with Casey 12-month record book. And there should be a link to a store. It's called a spread shop. So I'm wearing a t-shirt that I bought. I designed and bought. I went keto with Casey. You can see mugs and stickers and aprons and stuff. If you want to have merch, great. You don't have to buy products. So-called keto products. And I want to thank patrons. I have a private support group. Thank you, darling. I have a private support group on Patreon. where depending on your pledge level, starting at $5 a month, you get 20 pre-recorded videos from me in the kitchen. I don't know how I look like the crypt keeper most mornings. Going up from there, handful of patron-only video live streams on Crowdcast. Going up from there, a handful of patron-only video group sessions, which I'm having one actually at 10 o'clock this morning on Zoom, and going up from there, one-on-one sessions with me a year. And then occasionally, like 4 times a year, I send out postcards, like hopefully inspirational. Commercial over. Thank you very much. All right, now I'm going to turn my comments. Kathleen York writes, "Good morning." And okay, I am jumping in. That it looks like some people are commenting back and forth. Lou Cadle writes, "YW, you will. You can do this. I'm at goal, and I promise you that it feels so much better than any food tastes." Nancy Nearney writes, I'm sorry, thank you, Lou. Joni Sanchez, good morning, everyone, and sunshine. Joni always calls me sunshine. Let me put on my glasses. Cara Z writes, "I find what is working for me is not trying to recreate my favorite recipes to make them keto. I consider it a new way of eating," right? This is so key. Let's not try to find fake versions of what made us fat and unhappy in the first place, right? Let's just not do that. And I'm sorry to those people who are making a living off of that. I'm not doing it. I have enough challenge eating the amount of fuel I require rather than eating more than I require. At my stage of life, my stature, my body composition, I need much less fuel than I did a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, certainly less than when I started. And I need to regiment that. I won't say struggle with it every day. I'd scratch my head over it some days. But I'm healthy, but I am not about to eat a keto chocolate praline brownie or a keto ginger snap. Good morning, getting ready for hot yoga and watching Adeline Pro. People who do hot yoga. I admire you. But isn't there a Geneva Convention rule against sticking people in a room that's 140 degrees? Hello from Washington State, Roxanne Bud writes. Annie Thompson, good morning, Casey. My husband and I are sharing our end of the year blog about the hardest part of living keto being how people treat you. I'm wondering what experience you've had. Thank you for that question. I will tell you, I'm a bit of a contrarian, and I can be rather snappish. So I was not intimidated, bothered by someone rolling their eyes at the way I ate or the changes I made. It actually kind of just made me dig my heels in. So I have not had that. Some people are people pleasers. I'm not a people pleaser. Unless I count myself as a people. I please myself. So, a good question is if people are having a problem with the way you're eating and what you're doing. Okay, well, thank you for your input. Will you be giving me the insulin injections? Are you going to be trying to fit into size 14 jeans for me? Are you going to be taking me to the doctor for the appointments? Are you going to deal with me when I'm depressed? No. People have opinions. What are the things, I don't know if I put it in this year's calendar or not, I don't remember. Nobody gets a vote on what we eat. Although people feel entitled to tell us about how we should eat. Hippie Crystal Tribe. Good morning. Kroger has keto ice cream on a stick and keto bread. Okay, you're right. Do recommend these items. I'm sorry, Hippie Crystal Tribe. If you do recommend these items, I have to disagree. There's no such thing as keto ice cream, and there's no such thing as keto bread. And if it is shelf stable, it has fillers that make it higher in carb. Joyce Holstein, fake leads right back to the real thing. Cause fakes, never good enough, right? Veronica V, SVG, 112216. That's quite the handle. I'm 50 years old, have done keto before. I need to get back at it. It's a struggle. But thank you for your information. It's helpful. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy. And sometimes we have to break down our behavior because let's make no joke, no mistake. Eating is a behavior. Some people want to call it a compulsion. It's a behavior. Food does not leap from the plate or the bag into our mouths. We put it there. But sometimes we can't think about not going the rest of our lives without eating something. We have to say, okay, well, maybe I'll eat it in 15 minutes, but I'm not going to right now. I did that. It wasn't about the food. Once I I didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes. I'd given up on weight loss. So it wasn't about laying off the carbs. That was not a huge thing for me, which surprised me because I'd always said out loud that I could not go the rest of my life without tortilla chips or pizza. What it came to be about was not eating if I'm not hungry. That I had to train myself. So I'd say, maybe I'll eat in 15 minutes, but I'm not going to right now. Sometimes I use my television as a timer. I really want to eat something. I'll wait till the next commercial break. And then I would say, okay, next commercial break. Okay, the next commercial break I might eat, but I'm not going to now. Which is that's just totally pilfered from 12-step programs. You try to tell yourself, I'm never going to have a drink of alcohol for the rest of my life. Oh, it's overwhelming. You say, maybe I'll drink tomorrow, but I'm not going to drink today. Adeline Pruill writes, I admit I've looked up keto shortbread. Yeah, it doesn't exist. Do what works for you. If you can do it and get away with it, fantastic. Not for me. Plus, should not be that important. Joni Sanchez writes, entitled, ugh, makes my head spin. I'm not sure what that means. I might have missed a comment. Hippie Crystal Tribe. Okay. Kara Z writes, what was hard for me, and sometimes still is not using eating as an activity. That is it. That's kind of, you boiled it down. So there's the HALT method for addiction. Don't make a decision about your addiction if it's alcohol or drugs. And by the way, I do not look at food as an addiction. I know others disagree with me. And I'm not addicted to carbs. I eat a lot of carbs and my body wants me to eat more carbs, but that's another conversation. I'm very feisty today, aren't I? HALT. Don't make a decision when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Essentially, when you're vulnerable. With food, don't make a food decision if you're bored. It's the BLAST method. Bored, lonely, angry, stressed, or tired. And I did not think that up. One of my patrons did. I totally stole it. Yeah, it's some people look, food is love. No, food is not love. Love is love. No, food is not sport, although there are eating contests, which is obscene. Food is not entertainment. Food is fuel. Adeline Pearl writes, and I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. That's my issue. I think it's maybe like smoking. It becomes more a habit and psychological if you feel you have to eat. Yes. Food is not the boss of me. Love you. That actually, I have shirts that say that as well. Food is not the boss of me. Joni Sanchez, people feeling entitled that their opinions matter on what we should eat. Exactly. Nobody gets a vote. Go peddle that somewhere else. Becky Roy, I really am feisty today. Becky Roy writes, I can't watch cooking shows. If someone's in recovery from alcohol, abuse or alcohol dependence, they should not be watching YouTube videos on how to mix up the perfect cocktail, right? No. Kara Z, I love the BLAST. I'll remember that. BLAST. Don't make a decision to eat if you're bored, lonely, angry, stressed, or tired. And I still have to employ this. Nancy writes, I need a keto physician. I don't know that you do. Your physician is not the boss of you. Is your doc following you around, looking what you eat? If you want, you make a decision about what you're going to put in your mouth, whether it's food or medication. And you have the right to decline medications. Start statins. Again, yet another huge topic. Okay, Adeline writes, for me, snacking is linked to procrastination of something I'm avoiding. Right? Maybe we can stick the angry instead of angry, make it avoidance in the blast. Okay, Nancy writes, the reason I need a physician is because I'm having difficulty with hypoglycemia and hyperthyroid. Okay, hypoglycemia, if you are overweight, would be rare. Sometimes we feel like we're being hypoglycemic because we're so used to the ultra high glucose. We're way up here. And then we just cut back on the carbs a little bit. We come down here. We're coming back to maybe not even normal. It's just lower than it was. Hypoglycemia is very serious, can lead to coma. But if one is obese and has plenty of body fat, as long as one has not blocked the glucagon in the system, which is the inverse of insulin, as long as glucagon has not been interfered with by alcohol, hypoglycemia, not that common. So, I mean, I would research that if I were you. Maybe I don't usually do this, but maybe you reach out to the Adapt Your Life Academy, Dr. Eric Westman, where he answers questions till the cows come home. I was not at the last Durham Support Group meeting. I was on my way there, and it was pouring down with rain, and it was already dark, and it was already rush hour in the town where I was leaving, and I simply didn't feel comfortable driving. So I turned around. But I am having a Go Keto with Casey meetup in Greensboro, North Carolina. Check out my calendar. You can see it's free. Just show up. Hey, our weekly Bible study. Scott, keep up the feisty sister. And thank you for the card you sent. And Doris, if you're hearing me, thank you for the card. I really appreciate that. So kind. Nancy Nearney writes, the reason I need to, okay, Kaiser, my significant other's heart surgeon wanted him on the Mediterranean diet and to use vegetable oil. He rolled his eyes at us when we said we were low carb, high fat. Let me tell you what Dr. Eric Westman says. If your doctor has a problem, saying, oh, we're doing a modified Mediterranean diet. You don't have to say how you're modifying it. And they're like, oh, great. Mediterranean diet, so-called, and keto, not that far apart. Joyce Holstein writes, the spells of hypoglycemia, sometimes the body's reaction to blood sugar is running too high. And it's not hypoglycemia. It's not elevated glucose. It's like lower than it was, but hypoglycemia is very dangerous. I have experienced it, but that's a long story. And it was frightening. And I was very lucky that Jack, the dog, woke me up by licking me on the face. He saved my life. Hey, Doris, thank you for the card. Lisa Sobierowski, heart. Just Jen, howdy, hello. Okay, I'm going to start to wrap up here. Try to keep this under 30 minutes. I almost never succeed. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need. For those of you who didn't see it last week, gorgeous ring my husband brought me from Colombia. And listen, I have to work on my keto practice. Some days I have to work harder. Feeling that this is not as easy as falling off a log does not mean you're failing. It's a practice like yoga or meditation or marriage or parenthood, or frankly, any relationship is a practice. And as a friend from the early days of Go Keto with Casey said, the wolf is always at the door. You know, taking that, the wolf is always at the door. So I try not to leave crumbs out for the wolf. I try not to leave crumbs in this metaphor, crumbs being fake keto foods. Falling down the rabbit hole of YouTube videos and Facebook groups. The Some days the best I can do is the best I can do. But I don't eat carbs. Well, I can there's carbs in everything we eat, but I don't have that stuff. The closest danger I have is we have mixed nuts in the house, and that is on me to resist them. Nuts are not on page 4. My husband is metabolically more healthy than I, so he can have them. All right. Nancy writes, 3 doctors yelling at me not to do keto. Well, they shouldn't be yelling at you, jerks. Who do they think they are? All right, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate you allowing me to be part of your Saturday. And Scott, I will take you at your word that you're saying keep being feisty. I trust your instincts. And Doris writes, nothing worth feeling badly. So be honest and follow keto. Oh, the ring is awesome, right? Misty's House of Tarot cards. Thank you, Casey. Take care, everyone. Adios. Vaya con Dios. Auf Wiedersehen. Aloha and toodaloo, Caribou.